Hi there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'm going to do another pillar type candle video. So this is a pillar candle. Pillar candle is a candle which stands on its own, so it doesn't have a container, whereas for example a candle has an actual container, so an actual glass in this case that the wax sits in. But for pillar candles they are freestanding, so they have no container. And in this particular video I'm going to be doing I'm going to be using the mould that is the female torso, if I'm pronouncing that right, the female torso mould. It's upside down at the minute because that's the way this mould sits, but yeah, so it's going to be a female body shape torso. I've actually never made one of these before, so I'm going to give it a go now and show you how it comes out. So here's the mould here, and nothing's in it yet. I haven't filled it up. I'm literally just starting from scratch. It's brand new mould. The wax I'm going to be using for this particular type of candle, so you need to be using a pillar wax, a wax that is hard enough that it can stand on its own when lit. If you was to use a candle container wax, that's a lot softer, so when you light that, the whole thing, all of the wax would just melt and the thing would just collapse and it would be very dangerous. So you do need to use a pillar wax for pillar candles. Obviously it's in the name. So the wax I'm going to be using is the Kerastoi Pillar Wax 4120. I use this wax for pillar candles and wax melts. So I haven't measured out any wax yet. I'm just going to fill this to the top, but before you fill this to the top you need to put a wick in it. So I've got a wick, or I've got a wick spool which is over here. So this is a wick spool which is just a wick on a spool, so a continuous length of wick. And for these pillar candles you have to feed your wick through in advance. So before you put any wax in, you have to feed your wick through and leave it sticking out the other end. So literally it'll go through the middle and poke out the bottom here. And then once you pour your wax in, you get something to pull that tight on the top so the wick stays in the middle. It is very important that the wick is tight and stays tight throughout, stays tight and stays central throughout the column of the pillar, because if you don't tighten that at the top, your wick on the inside can lean over to one side and it's not going to burn directly down the middle. It's going to burn over to the side, and then it's a rubbish candle for your customers. They're not going to buy again. So yeah, so you've got to feed this through first. That's what we're going to do now. So to get this fed through, I'm going to be using a needle and thread tied onto the end of my spool. This one's still tied up from last time, so I'm going to cut this off and feed a new one on. Get a bit of thread on, tie that to a knot on the end and pull that through the base of this mould. Right, so quickly going to talk you through how I'm going to go about feeding this through. I've got my needle here, just a needle on its own now. Got a piece of thread. I'm going to feed through some thread through the eye of the needle and then tie that onto a knot just on the end of the wick here, on the end of the wick spool. Then I'm going to feed through my needle through the end of the eye through here, and then I'm going to pull that through so I've got the whole wick coming through. I'm going to pause the video whilst I feed the thread through the end of the eye, because it takes me ages to feed it through. Okay, so what I've done now is I've tied a knot in the end of the spool here. So that's that there, still on the spool. Tied the thread through the eye of the needle, so I've got that lined up there. Okay, so the easiest way to tie your needle and thread to the end of the wick is just feed it through and then just do a knot using the loose ends of your thread and your needle. Hopefully you understand. Just a granny knot. Do that a couple of times. Being careful not to poke yourself. So now we're attached to the end now. That's us tied on. I'm going to cut this excess bit off here just so we're not pulling so much through. Makes it easier when we're pulling through the mould. So just that tag end of the wick, that's quite thick. So that there's out of the way. Right, now to feed this through, I don't know if you'll be able to see inside, but inside it's got a a little not a hole, because there isn't a hole in it yet, but it's got a little indentation at the bottom for where the wick goes through. Yeah, for where to feed the wick through, if I'm saying it right. So we're going to get the eye of our needle. No, we're not. We're going to get the point of our needle. Let's focus in on that. We're going to get the point of our needle, and we're going to look for that hole. There's not a hole, but you can see it through the base here. Oh, I can see it through the base. There's a little bit that looks like where the needle feeds through, where the wick feeds through. Don't know whether you can see it in the bottom there, but yeah, I think you can just about see it there. See that there at the very bottom? That there lines up where the wick should go through. So we've got that through. Right, so now to get the needle out through the top, the easiest way to do that is to have your finger behind the needle at the bottom and grab the side of the mould and pull that down, pushing the needle and pulling down the sides. The mould's going to try and spring back up, so you've got to hold on to the sides, and then you can easily get the needle now and just pull, well, carefully pull it up. Obviously it's getting slowed down, pulled through at the bottom. Right, okay, got it to a position where we're just at the knot end coming through now. Drop the needle. Right, so now we just got to pull through that knot. Okay. Right. So now we're just getting this knot to come through. Just pulling. Right, now we're through. We've pulled the knot through and we're pulling our wick out at the top. So now we've got our wick through the body of our mould. Alright, so that's it. Now we can cut that from our spool. Let's put that aside. And as you can see now, you've got the wick going straight through the middle. Now we can fill up our mould with liquid wax. So I'm just going to cut the needle off, don't need that on there more. I'm going to cut the knot off. It's still going through there. Now hopefully, if this all works out, because our wick is quite thick, it should stop any wax leaking out through the hole. So obviously the wick is blocking the hole. In theory anyway, but we'll find out. See if we get a load of wax leaking through. We shouldn't do. So this is the wax I'm going to be using, the Kerastoi Pillar Wax 4120 for pillar candles and wax melts. It is brilliant for wax melts. It's the only wax I use for my wax melts. I also supply this wax, so if you want to buy this wax, you can get it from me. Sell it at very competitive prices, so you won't be disappointed. Visit my website, rusticbarncandles.co.uk. Supplied in either 5 kilo tubs or 1 kilo. Okay, so we've got our melted wax now. It's all here in a liquid form. Just going to take the temperature of that, see where we're at. So I'm making this pillar candle unscented. So it's going to be a natural wax colour, so I'm not going to put any colouring in it, and not going to put any fragrance oil in it. So it's just going to be a unscented pillar candle. Obviously you can make them scented, so you can add fragrance oil in, and you can also colour it, so you can add some dye colour, some wax colour. But for this one I'm just leaving it as a natural, unscented, uncoloured. So that was at, well, where are we at now? Have a look. 73 degrees now, Celsius. So I'm wanting to pour my wax into the mould at about 67, 68 degrees. Before I pour it in, I'm going to heat up the inside of the mould. So I'm going to use a heat gun. Show you that in a minute. I'm just going to heat up the inside of the mould before I pour the wax in. Keep the wick in the middle when I've poured the wax in. I'm going to use a paper clip, not paper clip, a peg clip. So that's going to go tight like that. So that then keeps the wick in the middle straight and straight down the middle as well. So if I didn't have anything on there, when I pour the wax in, the wick on the inside can be leaning over to one side, and obviously the top might be here, but the wick down here might be over here. So you've got to keep it tight so it stays straight all the way up. Then you get an even burn when you go to burn it or the customer goes to burn it. So just going to check the temperature now. So we're at 69 now, 68.8, 69, let's just say. So now is the time to warm up the mould. So just with a heat gun, just warming up the inside. This will help reduce any frosting on the outside, obviously when I release it. So I'm just feeling it to make sure it's not getting excessively warm. It's warming up now, but it's not there just yet. Keep moving the gun about so you're not warming up one place too excessively. Right, so I'm happy with that. Just get rid of my stirring spoon. Don't need that no more. Get rid of there. Right, so I've got the wick coming through the bottom and I've got the wick coming through the top. I'm going to hold that so when I pour it doesn't drag in the wick, because then we're going to have problems getting out. So I'm going to hold on to the top here. I'm going to pour at the same time. I'm going to switch hands for filming purposes. It doesn't matter that the wick is over to the left at the minute because it's a liquid form wax, so I can always pull it over after. So be very careful. So filling that up to the top like so. Put it over there. No wax is coming out at the bottom. Now I can center my wick. So again, just going to put the clothes peg on the top, holding the wick tight. And now I can just position that to the left or right. There you go, that's going straight down the middle. As you can see now, should be able to see the wick on the inside, maybe going straight down the middle there. Just about see it maybe. But yeah, that's how it is at the minute. And that's it. So now we're going to wait until that dries and then see how easy that comes out. Okay, so it's been about 3 hours now since this wax been drying, so it should be nice and hard all the way through. So I'm going to actually try and take it out of the mould now. So again, it's the first time using this mould, so we'll see how easy it is to come out. So just a little look underneath. As you can see, no wax has come through the hole where we fed through the wick. So we can take off the clothes peg and come off, get that to the side. And now to release it, I'm just going to slowly just pull the edges away from much of the top as I can. Try and stretch it out as much as I can. So all I'm doing is just stretching it, trying to release it. Alright, and then I'm going to try and peel it back and push up from the bottom at the same time. So just sort of like folding it back like that. Now I'm pushing and pulling at the same time. One big push. And try and fold it back some more. That's looking good so far, but this is the tricky bit now, to try and get this bit out. So again, still folding back, and fold a bit more back here, I think. At the back. There. Okay. So it seems to be releasing alright. It's just obviously a difficult mould to get out. Right, I'm going to give it a big push at the bottom now. And hopefully it should just pop out, hopefully. The shoulders are just getting caught because they stick out a little bit. So again, trying to pull it back as much as I can. There it is. Like that. One more push should have it. There we are. Right, she's out. So you just got to pull the wick through now, because obviously the wick's still sticking out the top, but that should come through easy enough. There it is. And now make sure there's no bits of wax in there. A couple of little bits. That's ready to go for next time. Set that to one side. Obviously the base, you need to flatten off the base a little bit so it stands up flat, so we'll do that in a little bit. But just having a look how clean this has come out. So you should be able to see there. Using this wax, it's come out really nice. It's set nice. Don't know how well you can see, but you can see the nice indentation of the spine all the way down to the bum on this mould. Yeah, it's come out really good. So let's trim this up. So we don't need the wick at the bottom here, so that can come cut that straight off. There. We'll trim the wick at the top. I'll leave it a little bit longer than I need at the minute, just to tidy it up for now. And then, so it stands up fairly decently, but I think I'm just going to trim that bit, obviously, so it sits a bit flatter. Right, so I'm just going to shave off these bits here that are just sticking up. There's little bits here that are just sticking up. That's fine. Just going to take them off. Obviously that's the wick there, so that's why that bit's catching as well actually. Just going to cut the bottom of that wick a bit more. So obviously where I trim the wick, it's still sticking out a little bit, so I'm just going to take that off there. And just need a little trim there. Just trying to get it flat so it sits flat and it's safe. But this is a decorative pillar candle, obviously. There you go, so that's quite sturdy. Just going to tidy this mess up. Yeah, so here she is. Here's the finished product for this female torso mould. See how it looks? Really nice. Got to use the right wax for this type of mould, guys. It's got to be a pillar wax, alright? It's got to be a hard wax when it dries. Can't use a candle container wax, it's too soft. Just won't work, and it won't work when you go to burn it either. It's come out really good. So obviously this is an unscented one, an uncoloured one. You know, you can colour them different colours. Blue, black, white, whatever colour you want, yellow, you know, all different colours, pink. and obviously if you want to scent them you can scent them, but yeah, I'm really happy with how that's come out. I'll trim down that wick just a little bit too long, but I'll make that just a little bit shorter. But yeah, there it is. So that's going to be about it for this video. I've got more videos coming up, some more pillar moulds, different kinds, going to show you how to do. Got a real interesting one coming up with here's the mould here actually, I'll show you the mould. So it's going to be like a sort of like a beehive sort of thing, just trying to pronounce it, or describe it rather, like a beehive looking pillar candle. So that's probably going to be one of the next ones I do, to show you how that one comes out. Looks really nice in the picture actually. I haven't made one yet using it, but I'm going to do that next. If you enjoyed watching this video and you feel that you're learning something, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps the channel to grow. And just a feel-good give back factor really. If you're enjoying the videos, please subscribe. Right, thanks very much guys. See you in the next one.